The scrapyard was killing me literally. Every breath felt like swallowing broken glass, and my pension barely covered the meds, keeping my lungs from collapsing entirely. 40 years fixing ships for ungrateful captains had left me with nothing but a wheezing cough and a one-way ticket to poverty. That's why, when the salvage beacon started screaming about an abandoned Earth colony ship 3 sectors out, I knew I had to take the job. One last score before my body gave out completely. Stupid old fool, I muttered, strapping myself into the pilot's seat of my ancient salvage hauler, Persistence. The name felt like a cosmic joke now. What was I persisting toward? A lonely death in some charity hospital? The colony ship New Horizon hung dead in space like a metallic tombstone, its hull scarred by micrometeorites and time. As my scanners swept the massive vessel, I expected the usual stripped clean by previous salvagers, maybe a few scrap metals worth enough to buy groceries for a month. Instead, I found something impossible. Life support was active in section 100 to 7. That's not right, I wheezed, checking my readings again. The colony ship had been declared lost over 60 years ago, vanished during humanity's first wave of interstellar expansion. Nobody could have survived that long. I docked with shaking hands, partly from excitement, mostly from the tremors that came with my condition. The airlock cycled, and I stepped into a corridor that should have been dark and frozen. Instead, soft blue light emanated from panels along the walls, and I could hear the gentle hum of active systems dot my boots, echoed against pristine metal. As I followed the life signs deeper into the ship, the air tasted clean, recycled but fresh, in a way that made my diseased lungs almost sing with relief. Someone had maintained this place, kept it running decades after everyone assumed it was dead. The trail led to what must have been the colony's agricultural section. Massive hydroponic gardens stretched as far as I could see, heavy with fruits and vegetables I didn't recognize. The air here was rich with oxygen, so pure, made me dizzy after years of breathing recycled station atmosphere. Hello? I called out, my voice cracking. Is anyone there? Something moved between the plants, graceful, deliberate. I fumbled for my emergency beacon, ready to call for help. When she stepped into the light, she was beautiful in a way that made my old heart stutter, tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Her hair floated around her head like she was underwater, and her eyes, God, her eyes were like looking into the heart of a star. But it was her clothes that made me freeze in terror. She wore robes that seemed to be made of living light, with patterns that shifted and moved like liquid mercury. Around her neck hung a pendant that pulsed with energy I'd never seen before. This wasn't human technology. Please, she said, and her voice was like music literally. Each word carried harmonics that made my bones vibrate. Don't be afraid. I raised my hands slowly, the way you do when confronting something that could kill you without effort. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm just a salvager. I thought this ship was abandoned. She smiled, and for a moment, the agricultural bay seemed to brighten. Abandoned? Oh, my dear human. This ship has been my home for 63 years. That's impossible, I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew I was looking at proof of the impossible. My name is Lirale, she said, moving closer with fluid grace. I am the last daughter of the Zentran Empire, and I have been waiting for one of your kind to find me. The words hit me like a physical blow. The Zentran Empire, humanity's first contact with alien intelligence, and our first war. The conflict had lasted 3 brutal years before both sides retreated to lick their wounds. That was 70 years ago. You're Zentran, I whispered, and she nodded. I was, until I chose exile over war. I should have run, should have activated my emergency beacon, and called for military support. Instead, I found myself asking, why? Because I fell in love with humanity's spirit, she said simply. Your people fought us with impossible courage, with hope that defied logic. When my father ordered the systematic extinction of your species, I couldn't bear it. So I stole this colony ship and disappeared into the void. You stole an entire human colony ship? I saved it, she corrected. My father's fleet was about to destroy it. I transported the colonists to safety and kept their ship as my sanctuary. For 60 years, I've maintained it, grown their food, preserved their culture. Waiting for what? For someone like you. The way she said it made my knees weak. I stumbled backward, bumping into a support beam. I don't understand. You're dying, she said. And it wasn't a question. I can sense it. Your life force is flickering like a candle in the wind. But you came here anyway, didn't you? Even facing death, you still hope for something better. I couldn't deny it. The hope had been so faint I'd barely acknowledged it myself, but it was there. What's your point? My point is that you're everything I've been waiting for. Humanity's greatest strength isn't your technology or your weapons. It's your refusal to give up, even when giving up would be logical. You persist. The word hit me like a sledgehammer. My ship's name suddenly felt prophetic rather than ironic. I've been alone for so long, she continued, moving closer. Isolated from my people, cut off from yours. I've maintained this ship, this memorial to human courage, but I've had no one to share it with, no one to talk to about the wonders I've discovered. What wonders? She gestured to the agricultural bay around us. This food is not just preserved human crops. I've been hybridizing them with Xenthran botanical techniques. The result is nutrition that could feed millions, and medical properties that could heal anything, including whatever's destroying your lungs. I stared at her. You could cure me? I could do more than that. I could give you purpose again. This ship contains the combined knowledge of two civilizations, agricultural techniques that could end hunger, medical advances that could eliminate disease, cultural insights that could prevent future wars. But it's too much for one person to preserve. What are you asking? Stay with me. Help me catalog everything. Together, we could prepare a gift for both our peoples, a bridge between worlds that could end the Cold War that's been brewing since our first contact. The offer was insane. Stay on a ghost ship with an alien princess, playing scientist and diplomat. 3 hours ago, I'd been a washed-up mechanic waiting to die. But as I looked around the thriving agricultural bay, at the impossible beauty of what she'd accomplished, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Possibility. Why me? I asked. I'm nobody special, just a broken-down old man with no family, no future. Because you're the first human to find me, and because you're here, despite having every reason to give up. That's not nobody special. That's exactly what humanity represents. She reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, her fingers touched my chest, right over my heart. Warmth spread through me like liquid sunlight. I can feel it, she whispered. The damage to your lungs, the toxins in your blood. But underneath all that, there's something unbreakable, something that brought you here against all odds. I needed the money, I said weakly. No, she said firmly. You needed to matter, to be part of something bigger than yourself. I'm offering you that chance. The warmth from her touch was spreading through my whole body now. My breathing came easier, and for the first time in years, I could take a deep breath without pain. What did you do? Just a preview, she said with a smile that could have powered a small city. Xenthran healing techniques combined with the medicinal properties of our hybrid crops. I could give you decades of healthy life, but only if you stay. The treatment requires ongoing maintenance, and in exchange, help me complete the work. Learn everything you can about human culture, history, and values. Help me understand your people well enough to create a real bridge between our worlds. And when the time comes, help me present our gift to both civilizations. I looked around the agricultural bay again, really seeing it this time. This wasn't just preserved human technology. It was evolved human technology, improved by alien knowledge, but guided by human values. She'd spent 60 years creating the ultimate fusion of both cultures. How do I know this isn't a trap? Because I'm asking, not commanding. Because I've had 60 years to contact either civilization and chose isolation instead. Because I'm trusting you with knowledge that could destroy both our peoples if misused. What about my ship? My life back home? What life? She asked gently. You told me yourself you're dying. Your ship is held together with prayers and stubbornness. You have no family waiting for you, no friends who would miss you. But here, you could be part of something that changes the galaxy. The truth hurt, but she was right. I had nothing to go back to, except a slow, painful death. If I stay, I said carefully, what happens to us? You're immortal. I'm human. Even with your healing, I'll age and die eventually. Time moves differently for my people, she said. We don't experience it linearly the way humans do. For me, 60 years alone felt like centuries. But even a single year with genuine companionship would be worth more than an eternity of isolation. That's not really an answer, because I don't know, she admitted. I've never attempted something like this before, but I know that dying alone, having accomplished nothing, is worse than dying surrounded by work that matters. I thought about my life, 40 years of fixing other people's ships, watching other people chase their dreams while I stayed safely in my workshop. I thought about my empty apartment, my dwindling bank account, my medical bills that would outlive. Then I looked at Lirale, at the impossible garden she'd created, at the hope shining in her alien eyes. Okay, I said, I'll stay. Her smile was like sunrise on a planet I'd never seen. Thank you, Marcus. You've just saved 2 civilizations, and you don't even know it yet. How do you know my name? It's embroidered on your work shirt, she said, with a laugh that sounded like crystal bells. But I would have learned it eventually. I've been preparing for this moment for 63 years. The next few hours were overwhelming. Lirale showed me through the ship, not just the agricultural section, but laboratories where she'd been working on medical applications of hybrid crops, libraries containing the complete histories of both species, workshops where she'd been developing new technologies that combined human innovation with Zenthran knowledge. The colonists, I said as we walked through a residential section that had been converted into a massive research archive. What happened to them? I transported them to a safe world before my father's fleet arrived. They established a successful colony and never knew how close they came to annihilation. I've been monitoring their progress through long-range sensors. They're thriving. They think they're heroes who escaped impossible odds. They are heroes. They just don't know they had help. In the ship's medical bay, Lirale began the process of healing my lungs. The treatment was unlike anything I'd experienced, part medicine, part technology, part something that felt almost spiritual. As she worked, her hands glowing with soft light, she told me about her people. We're not naturally violent, she explained. The war with humanity was driven by fear. Your species spreads so quickly, adapts so easily. My father's advisors convinced him that humans would eventually overrun the galaxy if not stopped. And now I've spent 60 years studying human culture, and I know better. Humans don't conquer, they connect. You build bridges, not walls. You turn enemies into allies, strangers into family. That's your true strength. You learned all that from historical records and from watching your entertainment media. Human stories reveal more truth about your species than any scientific study ever could. The healing process took 3 days. During that time, I learned about Zenthran culture, their connection to energy and light, their ability to perceive time and space differently than humans. In return, I told her about human stubbornness, our tendency to fix things that weren't broken, our habit of making jokes in the face of disaster. That's what I've been missing, she said on the 3rd day, as my lungs drew their first completely clear breath in years. The humor. Zenthran culture is beautiful, but serious. We don't laugh at catastrophe. We see it as proof that the universe is inherently tragic. Maybe that's why you lost the war, I said. You can't defeat people who think disaster is hilarious. You're doing it right now, she said, grinning, making light of a galactic conflict that killed millions. Well, yeah, what else are you going to do? The dying is already done. Might as well find something to laugh about. This is exactly what I need to understand. How do you balance grief with hope? How do you acknowledge tragedy while still believing in tomorrow? Over the following weeks, I began to understand the scope of what she'd been building. Every day brought new discoveries, hybrid crops that could grow in any environment, medical techniques that could cure diseases that plagued both species, energy systems that could power entire worlds without environmental damage. But more than that, I began to understand her loneliness. She'd been alone with this knowledge for 60 years, carrying the weight of potential peace between 2 civilizations with no one to share the burden. Why didn't you try to contact human authorities? I asked one evening as we worked in the main laboratory. Because I couldn't prove my intentions, she said. To your people, I'm an enemy alien who stole a colony ship. To my people, I'm a traitor who defected to the enemy. Both sides would assume I was a spy. But with a human vouching for you, ... Exactly. Someone who could testify that I'm not a threat, that my work is genuine. Someone who could help me approach both governments with proof of what we've accomplished. And if they don't listen, then at least I'll have tried. But I think they will. The benefits are too obvious to ignore. She was right. The agricultural advances alone could revolutionize both civilizations. The medical applications could save billions of lives. The cultural exchange could prevent future conflicts. But working with Lirale was changing me in ways I hadn't expected. Her presence was intoxicating. Not just her alien beauty, but her passion for the work, her dedication to peace, her absolute faith in the possibility of a better future. I'm falling in love with you, I told her one night as we watched the stars through the ship's observation deck. I know, she said softly. I've been falling in love with you since the day you arrived. That's impossible. We're different species. We're different species with compatible souls, she corrected. Your stubborn hope matches my patient dedication. Your humor balances my seriousness. Your humanity reminds me why I chose exile over war. What happens when I get old? When I die? Then I'll have had the privilege of loving someone who embodied everything beautiful about his species. That's more than most beings ever experience. The months passed quickly. My health improved beyond anything I'd imagined possible. My mind, sharpened by constant learning and discovery, felt clearer than it had in years. And my heart, which I'd thought was dead, came alive in ways I'd never experienced. But our isolation couldn't last forever. The galaxy was changing. Long-range sensors detected increased military activity in both human and Zenthran space. The Cold War was heating up again. It's time, Lirale said one morning, her usually serene expression troubled. We need to make contact. How? I've been working on that for 60 years. I know the right people to contact on both sides: leaders who value peace over conquest, scientists who would appreciate our discoveries, diplomats who understand the cost of war. And if they think it's a trap, then we'll have to convince them otherwise. Together, the plan was audacious. We would take the ship to a neutral system, broadcast our message to both civilizations simultaneously, and hope that curiosity would overcome suspicion. The risk was enormous. Both sides had shoot-first policies regarding unauthorized contact. But as I looked at the woman who had saved my life, who had given me purpose beyond anything I'd ever imagined, I knew we had to try. Are you ready? She asked as we prepared to leave the sanctuary that had been our home for almost a year. No, I said honestly, but I'm ready to try. She smiled, and for the 1,000th time, I marveled at how something so simple could be so beautiful. That's the most human answer possible. The journey to the neutral system took 3 days. We spent the time rehearsing our presentation, preparing for every possible scenario. But underneath the preparation, I sensed something else, a finality that made my chest tight. Whatever happens, I said on the final night, I want you to know this has been the best year of my life. Mine too, she said, and I believed her. Next morning, we dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Within minutes, our sensors detected ships approaching from both directions, human and Zenthran fleets, racing to intercept us. This is it, Lirale said, her hand finding mine. Ready to change the galaxy? With you, I'm ready for anything. We transmitted our message simultaneously to both fleets. The response was immediate and overwhelming: demands for surrender, accusations of treachery, threats of destruction. But underneath the official posturing, I heard something else: curiosity. Human Fleet Commander Admiral Chun was the first to request a direct communication. When his face appeared on our screen, I saw a woman worn down by years of military tension, but with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Marcus Rivera, she said, reading from a datapad. Age 67, retired ship mechanic from Luna Station. Number, criminal record, no military service, no political affiliations. What the hell are you doing on a stolen colony ship with an enemy alien? Saving the galaxy, I said simply. Explain. For the next hour, I told her everything. About finding the Thea ship, about Lirale's exile, about the discoveries we'd made together. I showed her the agricultural advances, the medical breakthroughs, the cultural bridges we'd built. And you believe this alien princess's story? Admiral Chun asked. I believe the evidence, I said. I believe 60 years of dedicated work toward peace. I believe the healing she gave me when she could have killed me. And I believe the tears she cried when she told me about the colonists she saved. Aliens cry? Everyone cries, Admiral. The language is just different. The Zenthran fleet commander's response was equally skeptical, but intrigued. When Princess Lirale spoke to him in their musical language, I saw his expression change from suspicion to shock to something that might have been hope. She truly is the Emperor's daughter, he transmitted to Admiral Chun. She speaks the High Court language perfectly, but that makes her either a genuine defector or the most elaborate spy in galactic history. There's only one way to find out, I said, stepping forward. Let us prove it. The next few days were a blur of negotiations, demonstrations, and cautious optimism. Representatives from both civilizations boarded the ship, examined our work, questioned our motives. Some remained skeptical, but others began to see the potential. The breakthrough came when Dr. Sarah Kim, a human xenobiologist, worked alongside Zenth Captain Aurelian to analyze one of our hybrid crops. Watching two scientists from different species collaborate on solving a problem, seeing their excitement as they made discoveries together, was more convincing than any speech. This is how it should be, Lirale whispered to me as we watched. The first successful human Zenthran research team in 70 years. Not as enemies, but as partners. Think it'll work? I think we've given them the tools to build peace. Whether they use them is up to them. 2 weeks later, we received word that both governments had agreed to formal peace negotiations. The colony ship New Horizon would serve as neutral ground, with Lirale and myself as mediators. Standing in the ship's main conference room, watching human and Zenthran diplomats work together for the first time in generations, I felt something I'd never experienced before. I had mattered. My life had made a difference. Regrets? Lirale asked softly. Just one, I said. I wish I'd been brave enough to do this sooner. You did it when you were ready, she said. That's all any of us can do. The peace treaty was signed 6 months later. The first joint human Zenthran research stations were established within the year. The agricultural and medical advances we developed became freely available to both civilizations, ending hunger and disease on dozens of worlds. But for me, the real victory was smaller and more personal. I'd found love in the most unlikely place, with the most unlikely person. I discovered that it's never too late to begin again, never too late to matter. What now? I asked Lirale as we watched the last diplomatic transport leave the ship. Now we get to be normal, she said with a laugh. Just two people who love each other, living in a garden among the stars. Normal is overrated, I said, pulling her close. Then it's perfect for us, she replied, and kissed me while the universe spun around us, full of new possibilities. As I write this, 5 years have passed since that first meeting. My hair is gray now, my hands weathered by age, but my lungs are clear and my heart is full. Lirale and I continue our work, training new generations of human and Zenthran scientists, nurturing the peace we helped create. Sometimes I think about the man I was before, lonely, dying, convinced his life was meaningless. That man would never have believed that he could fall in love with an alien princess, help end a galactic Cold War, and find purpose in the twilight of his years. But that's the thing about being human. We're never truly finished. There's always one more chance to be brave, one more opportunity to matter, one more possibility for love. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we find someone who sees that possibility in us, even when we can't see it ourselves. The stars are singing tonight, and I know they're singing for us, for love that transcends species, for hope that survives exile, for the stubborn human refusal to give up, even when giving up would be logical. Tomorrow, we'll start work on the next project, a cultural exchange program that will bring human and Zenthran children together, ensuring that the next generation grows up seeing each other as friends rather than enemies. But tonight, I'm content to hold the woman who saved my life, who gave me purpose, who taught me that sometimes the best adventures begin when you think everything is ending. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but the greatest wonder of all is that somewhere among the stars, there's always room for hope. And hope, as I've learned, is the most human thing of all.